All right, guys, we're here today with our to do another after-action roundtable. We just got off the range about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Already had lunch, so we're all relaxed. And today we have another participant. This is our Wendell's son Ryan that's joining us. And so, why don't you introduce yourself?
Ryan, should I tell him where I'm from?
That would probably be helpful.
Yeah. So, I don't know what to say.
Well, what's your credentials?
Oh, so I'm a law enforcement officer. Have been for 13 years. I'm a certified canine handler, trainer, instructor, firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor, basic tactics, and that's about it, really.
Okay. And then you're related to Wendell, and then all that fun stuff.
I guess.
I wouldn't put that into any
I mean, we look alike, so.
Unfortunately.
He has better hairline than you do, though.
Yeah.
So, well, we just got off the range. So, what do you guys think of our range time?
I had fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Had fun.
We ran through some drills.
Did some drills, some reloading and moving and shooting and hitting some steel.
Well, what I liked is that we found out that I wasn't such a bad shot after all. It was my sights were all messed up.
Yeah, just a little.
I'm not saying I'm not messed up, but but yeah. And then run us through the course of fire that we set up. We got how did we handle that, Wendell?
I don't know. You engage first target, you then approach first target, use it as a barricade, and we shot around that to engage the next two targets, and then you move to one of those targets and use it as more or less a barricade to shoot the last two, which was the two steel plates. So
I like shooting steel. There's a lot of reward to that. Just that ding just is satisfying, man.
You know you get your hits.
Yeah. And you don't even have to go look. You just can audible. It's kind of like a squeaky toy for shooters.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
I love steel.
Well, what did we learn today, guys? We're all pretty rusty.
Yeah.
I'm rusty. Even as a firearms instructor, I haven't fired a handgun since February of last year. So that's not. It's partially me, no initiative going out to the range and training like I should. It's also work schedules and busy being an instructor. So instructing, you don't actually do it hands-on. You tell people how to do it, and then you make sure they do it correctly. So there's a little bit of rust there.
Yeah. But you still were not too bad for a guy who hasn't fired a gun in since this last February, so 25?
24.
So a year and 2 months?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that AR you had was pretty rocking.
I built it.
So, and then what else? We took the PSL out, or no? Was that
the dagger?
The dagger.
Yeah, we took the PSA dagger out.
PSA.
Palmetto State Armory. So right now I've got the full-size frame on it, so we're using Glock 17 size mags. When we originally put this together, I had built it on the compact frame, which is a Glock 19 size. What I found was after first time out, we only got to shoot about 10 rounds before we got ran off the range. And what I found was I didn't like the way the pinky felt down here on the bottom. So went back to Palmetto, ordered a full-size frame. I like the gray and black two-tone look.
It's very stylish.
Yeah, and thing is, you can use either frame on this. Slide is a Glock 19 length, so basically what you have here would be like a 19X setup. You've got a Glock 19 length slide on a full-size frame. Shot it today, it did real good. No jams, no malfunction, shot just fine. So going to take a little getting used to. One thing I do like is I like the shape of the frame on this a lot. I also like the pebble finish that they put on these.
So it's cycled basically, but
Yeah, it's cycled pretty good. So I don't know if you've ever. Do you want to see it?
Hey, while he's looking at it, why don't you grab mine and show what we had to fix on that?
Yeah, we had to. It's there.
it's unloaded.
I'm glad that you knew that was unloaded when you dropped it.
I mean, you could drop them on the floor loaded. They
Yeah.
shouldn't fire.
So we figured out how we get there or not.
Is that because the Glock switch is off? Or
This is Cody's Glock 3, our Gen 3 Glock 17. He's got, it's a lone wolf barrel in there, right? What we were having problems with was the screw was coming loose and his front sight was moving around. So we got back over here to the shop. I went ahead and took the screw out, put some Loctite on it, put it back together, tightened it up. So and it looks like you've had some extra stippling on here, huh?
yeah, I sat there with a soldering iron,
Really?
and then I took a Dremel tool and took that like the squareness.
Oh, you squared it off, or rounded it off.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
I didn't like how my finger.
One-piece guide rod instead of the one-piece steel guide rod instead of the plastic one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I replaced I replaced the barrel.
You also filled in the gap on the bottom.
Did you see what it was?
It's the Punisher skull.
No, you got Punisher on there.
You gotta match the.
You got Punisher on the back plate.
Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we did all right today.
It punished the steel.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I was just glad that
punishing.
when Ryan took it and he's like, "Yeah, your sights are off." I was like,
Sights crooked.
I just thought it was me.
Yep.
Yep.
So we figured that out. That'll be nice.
I can't figure it out. I'm pointing it at the steel. It should be going ding, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. So, it's crooked.
Well, I went through after my sister died. I went through kind of didn't touch a gun for about 8 years. I had them. I moved them, but I haven't really played with any of this stuff. The first time I really started coming back to the range was when Wendell. When I went out with shoot, I took that 308 that I bought and was wanting to shoot it. And took it out. Well, it really started last year, but so all this stuff is just the way it was when I stopped shooting 3-gun.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time I've gone out and done any more than just the 10 rounds when we first got the dagger put together. It's the first time I've shot any large amount of ammo through a handgun since pre-COVID. You know?
Yeah.
COVID came and pretty much everything, the world stood still. Everything came to a halt. And,
Yeah.
It's weird to see, like, we shot that plastic coated bullet.
it's not plastic. It's a polymer bullet. So
It's weird to not see, like, copper fouling when you get done shooting it.
there's no copper in it.
Yeah, I know, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what's nice is when you're shooting the blue bullet, when you're done, it doesn't take very long at all to clean the barrel. The only thing you're doing is getting the carbon out of it, and you're done. And it cleans up real easy. And those are about half the cost of jacketed ammo. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
truly advantageous. You know, I mean,
yeah, I was really impressed. You're not worried about getting stuff flying back at you when you're shooting steel, too.
yeah, it's a
Kinda
lot safer
smack is
shooting
done.
steel because it just splatters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, soft lead swage core. So, yeah, a little bit more pain to load those because you really have to open the mouth up a lot so that you're not shaving the bullet, seating it. But once you get the dice adjusted right, yeah, you can crank them out. And yeah, especially for what we're doing today, that's ideal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no point in shooting expensive jacketed ammo when you can shoot that stuff. So
Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot more bullets were fired than we normally shoot. When we normally go out, we shoot maybe 40 rounds, 50 rounds at the most.
Yeah.
We probably shot, what, a couple hundred today?
Yeah, with pistol, I've learned, you know, going through the instructor course and then doing instructor stuff, you can get a full days of training out of a box of 50. You know, just doing some dry firing and practicing your rock and lock and working through malfunctions, and it'll get you a lot out of just 50 rounds. So 200 was pretty good.
Well, the thing that I was kind of ashamed of myself in is it's been so long since I've run like drills. I was like kind of like I thought it was like a memory you could just like, but no, you have to get back up on that.
It's a perishable skill.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I was like stumbling and my you kind of get that adrenaline rush, and I was kind of putting my gun back in when I was my process kind of got all jumbled.
Yeah, part of being a law enforcement officer, your certification requires you every year to have not only qualifications, a day shoot and a night shoot, but you're required to have your biennium trainings in firearms. So you have to have, in order to maintain your cert, you have to have a certain amount of hours of firearms training.
Okay.
So there's a lot of training outside of qualifications that we do. And it could be anything.
Well, that was cool. Maybe the next time we get you over here, that thing where you were doing, where you pull off and you do the side and shoot up into the...
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Firing at retention. So that's practicing if you're in close quarters with somebody and you have to get rounds out quick. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty slick. It was like you didn't even, it's just like, you were, what, about an arm's length out, and you just...
Yeah, and it's a matter of, you know, when you first do it, you're not used to having to actually tilt yourself and raise the muzzle. So a lot of people, when they first do that, they shoot low, and you want the high center mass shots. So you have to train yourself, muscle memory, to actually lean backwards and bring the barrel up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I was like, when you go watch this and you put your arm out and you went, and then you came back to retreat it and then put another round in. It was like, that's pretty fast.
Yep. Yep. On the range, we have 2 seconds, 3 seconds to do that.
Yeah.
So pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just don't shoot yourself.
What have you heard?
Oh, I've seen.
Oh, I thought you were asking about how I shot myself. But
well,
no.
That too. But yeah, people not knowing to get the arm out of the way and lean back. And
is that why you put your hand like this when you put your arm up?
So it's to defend yourself in case they strike you with something, but also to get that hand out of the way so you don't shoot yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna make a really good video. Man, I was telling my wife yesterday, man, I got all this equipment and nothing to edit, and now we got, what, 3 videos to build?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a lot of content to go through.
Yeah.
So
maybe next time we'll do some defensive tactics.
The thing that I find interesting about this style of shooting is that I've never really understood about going to a shooting range is like the move and shoot is way more difficult.
It is.
Because it's like all of a sudden when you say ready go and you hear the beepers go, you kind of
Yeah. I told you to be ready to move because I was gonna fire 5 while walking.
Yeah.
You have to time your shots in between footsteps, and also control your breathing, and think about your marksmanship fundamentals while getting closer to a target.
Yeah, that was.
It's need a lot more practice, but.
Well, you can tell you've done a lot more training than I have over the last few years.
Yeah, I have. I've done training applications and practical scenarios.
So after seeing our skill level, what would you think as a instructor we should go to?
Definitely need to work on trigger control and breathing.
Yeah.
Definitely, and then working through malfunctions, learning the tap rack, and then slowly incorporating the tack loads and the speed loads.
Yeah.
That way, you know, one thing that people do is, oh, I need to get that magazine in there quick, and they're fumbling when they're doing it. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Just make your reload smooth.
Well, one thing I was really liking is, for some reason, wasn't even doing it consciously. It's like it's like drop the mag and move. It's like, why are we worrying about?
Yeah.
So had to remind myself that we're on the move.
Yeah. I'm throwing my mags in the dirt.
Yeah.
They're just getting dirty. But if it's an empty mag, it's no good to me at that point.
No.
Well, not only that, but you also got to make sure you're set up correctly before you start. So make sure that when you're drawing that mag to do your reload, make sure you're indexing it so that you're ready to go. So you get it in there right.
Yeah.
A lot of people will grab a mag and it's not indexed, and they're trying to find the gun. They're trying to put it in instead of watching what's happening in front of them. They're focused here in front of them.
Yeah.
And if you practice that, index the mag so that when you draw, you're there. You don't have to look. Index.
And a lot of people, what I see is when
Yeah.
you're dropping that mag, it's off to the side.
Yeah.
So bring it up here. This is your workspace.
Yes. Get it up in front of you where you can see what's going on in front of you while you're making that mag change and getting that fresh mag in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can practice. You don't have to be on the range to do this. You can. There's times I'll go in the bedroom, stand in front of the bed where I'm dropping mags and they're falling on the bed. Now I'll just sit there and index mags and drop them and pull another one, index, put an insert and drop. But you got to get your gear's got to be set up correctly. And this isn't just for the style of stuff we were doing today. I mean, concealed carry. If you're going to carry a weapon, you never know. You may run it dry if you ever get into a shooting.
And then you got to remember too, once you fired rounds, the gun's hungry. You got to feed it. So you got to learn how to do your tack loads or speed loads.
Yeah. It was a very.
It's hard to keep. It's real easy to lose track of how many rounds. If you actually get into a shooting and that adrenaline dump hits, all your fine motor skills are gone, and everything seems like it goes into that slow motion. It's hard to keep track of how many rounds you've shot. You don't know what you got left in the gun.
Oh yeah.
The best thing is dump that mag, get a fresh mag in there, and start looking for other threats. Don't get into a tunnel vision. And
well, that was the thing I was noticing too. Is it's like what's it like Mike Tyson says? Everyone has a plan till they get hit in the face.
yeah,
And you're like go, and you're like.
Well, it looks good on paper. Now I'm doing this for real. How am I gonna?
I have a plan. And you start running through, and you're like, shit, what? And you lose, and then I kept running dry that first time, and because I wasn't counting the rounds, and
well, one time you ran the gun dry, you pulled the mag, and then put it in your hand with the gun.
Yeah.
Because you hadn't dropped your mag yet.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
And I did my tack load while I was moving, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do with the spare mag? And I was thinking, just shoot the gun.
Yeah.
I just kept it in my hand and fired the gun. I had a pay for it.
You also got to realize too, when you get into a fight, the only thing you got to rely on is your training.
So they always teach you, like especially in the academy, put all these tools in your toolbox that you're learning from all these instructors. But you have to understand when you apply it practically, the level you're going to sink to is the lowest level of your training. So being defensive tactics instructor, I could teach you a textbook perfect spinning armbar takedown. In the field, it's not going to be a perfect spinning armbar takedown.
okay,
It's going to be something. Honestly, it's going to look like you're fighting a monkey. And then you're going to resort to, well, I need to accomplish this goal. How am I going to do it? And that's where you go to your lowest level of training.
yeah, it was. I could tell my lowest level was pretty low though. I felt really. I got done with it. I was like, I felt like a monkey fucking football.
I used to shoot a lot. I used to have a good friend of mine. He was with one of the bigger sheriff's departments here in New Mexico, and I used to help him with training on a lot of his new deputies. that I used to shoot quite a bit with him. He passed away a few years ago. In fact, he passed away a couple years before COVID. And I really, at that point, kind of just quit shooting pistol because I really didn't have anybody to shoot and train with. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a need to either. So, yeah, today here I am. It's like, yeah, it really's been 5-6 years since I really tried to do any of this. And yeah, it's a perishable skill.
I can teach you.
What was fun, I thought was cool is like seeing the father-son dynamic like I've been with my dad. And then you're sitting there running through, telling him how to do it, and he's like, and he goes and shows you how to do it, and his thing was a little bit higher level. So it was like, but I just thought that was funny that role came right back into it.
Well, from the time Ryan was 4 years old, me and his mother pretty much knew he wanted to be a police officer. We bought your first handgun, you started shooting pistols, and you were, what, 16, 17?
I started pistol shooting with the little 22 that you had.
Yeah.
I was maybe 7 or 8 with that. I started shooting a single shot 22 when I was 5.
4.
Okay, younger than that.
4.
So I started dabbling with pistols when I was pretty young. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I went and got you a Springfield XD in 40 when you were...
I was 19.
I thought you were younger than that.
I was with you when you bought it. I was 19.
Yeah.
And that was my first big boy handgun.
Yep. And we have spent, early on in your law enforcement career, we spent a lot of time shooting.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of money too.
And it's a good thing we did, because you've been in shoots.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
would you say that, like, the stuff you went over with your dad and everything, with that good muscle memory?
For training?
Yeah, for training, and then for when you actually got into combat, you went to war, right?
Well,
I call it whenever you take a gun out, you're going to war, man.
Yeah, so what I learned very quickly, and I was maybe 11 or 12 years it was 2023. And
right.
So I had a significant amount of time in law enforcement. I had already been an instructor. And what I learned is I can preach it on the range, and I can tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. When the time came for it to actually be utilized in the field, it's a totally different environment.
Yeah. So you were in law enforcement, what, 13 years before you actually had to shoot?
No, this has been just a couple years, so maybe 11, 12.
Yeah.
Well, you were at a shoot up there in Kansas. Guy tried to run you down with a pickup.
Yeah, that was a little different though. But this one was a lot more personal.
Yeah.
So I noticed that a lot of the dexterity and everything was just not there. So everything you practice in a controlled environment is in a controlled environment. So when you start to use it in a real world application, everything you learned in the controlled environment kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
And 16 rounds and only one connected. But in training, it's like, well, here's your target at 7 yards away. I should have hit every 16 rounds should have penetrated my target. But in a real world situation, there's tunnel vision, there's heavy breathing, there's physical stress on top of the mental stress. You go from sitting and doing nothing, literally sitting and doing nothing 5 minutes before that, to holy shit, I'm fighting for my life.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised one connected, honestly. In the middle of the night, pitch black, and people are moving.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, I have never been. I've had pistols set up with optics on them before, and it's all fun and well when you're out on the range and you're shooting that stuff. But I have never been a proponent of putting an optic on top of a gun, and everybody's doing it these days. My dagger is cut for an optic. I'm not putting an optic on there.
And this goes back to training. This is the first time I ever worked at a department that had an optic on their handguns. So I had fired them in training before, which was earlier that year. So I fired it on the range doing some training and then qualifications. Did a day shoot, did a night shoot perfectly fine. Again, controlled environment. Now we're in a very dynamic situation, and all I can think about is there is this green glare in my face, and I can't get target acquisition. And it really screwed up a lot of the training I had before.
When you say green glare, what did they figure out what caused the green glare?
So it was basically the glare of my green dot, because it was green. And, because I don't have the actual dot, it's just the glare of the dot.
That came back onto the glass.
Yeah, it came back on the glass, and I went from having open night sights to I've got this green screen. I'm trying to find this dot to get my target. Mm-hmm. So it was, and it was on me too, because I didn't really take the initiative to go out and train with it. So it made that a little different.
So it was with the heightened adrenaline and everything. Your eye just saw that green. It filled the screen. Could they change the color? Would have made it better? Or?
So I found out later you can actually change the dimness on that green dot, and it was already adjusted for night shift, so it was already turned down.
Oh wow!
So it was pretty bright. Yeah.
Well, the problem is if you're not in perfect alignment to be able to see the dot, all that dot does is reflects. It can reflect the whole screen back at you.
And that was me going back to my lowest level of training, which, point shooting, and of course, especially in the academy, they say focus on the front sight. And I'm trying to find my front sight, and it's not there. Instead, what's there is a glare on a screen. So that kind of changed some dynamics for me.
Is that just because you hadn't trained enough with it and weren't used to it, or?
I hadn't trained enough with it, so I wasn't really totally used to that handgun. Yeah. And you're throwing technology at me. I hate to say it, throwing technology at me in a stressful situation and telling me, "Hey, use this." It's like, okay, well, training would have fixed that a lot. But that was an experience.
Yeah, but the problem with dots, it's a lot like a computer screen, especially your new flat screen stuff. Your alignment has to be perfect. If you're off a little bit one direction or another, you got nothing. And it's just,
especially on the optic on my patrol rifle, sometimes I got to wiggle it to find the dot. Kind of the same situation here, except now I'm running. I'm breathing heavy, I'm kind of shaking, trying to move, get cover, think of all the other stuff. So, I vapor locked.
That's a good way of describing it.
Yeah, I vapor locked.
It's been 9 minutes. Want to take a break real quick? What were you saying now on the break?
So what I was saying is, shooting with red dots and stuff, doing it like just for fun or whatever. You don't have any problems with it. And then in a defensive situation, you would think you would go back to that lowest level of training and focus on the front side or, point shoot or what have you. And I did eventually get to that point, but by then it was already too late. I mean, from between the first shot being fired and the last shot being fired was just a matter of seconds. So.
Well, I had a holographic sight on a 22 pistol that we used to shoot Ruger rimfire with. Mm-hmm. It would shoot the steels with Ruger rim. And my experience is like every time I picked that gun up, I had to refine the optic and then fire. And when you have, that's the reason I haven't really put anything on here, is because it's like when I come up, I just automatically know where to look. And go for it.
Yeah.
And it's like the guys up at 3-gun, they're like, "Oh, you got to get." I'm like, man, I fired this way for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
And they probably had enough time to actually sit down and train with it and
play with it and do dry shooting runs.
Develop that muscle memory with it. Red dots or any dot on a handgun isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you just got to know how to train with it and be consistent.
Well, these guys now are even putting that bore. What is that sight I brought here? Remember the one I wanted to put on my pistol, but we had to. Anyways,
Fast Fire, the Burris Fast Fire 3.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, dude, why don't you put that on your shotgun? I'm like, why do you need that on your shotgun? Why are you shooting with a red dot on your shotgun? Because I have an FN and it has like a valley that your eye automatically goes to, and it has a front target, and you just like pick it and start picking rounds out, and it's like your eye automatically, at least mine, automatically goes to, because it has a rifle sight on the front, automatically goes to that rifle sight and just starts targeting. And I don't know if it's just training or.
Yeah.
But these guys up on the range were like, "Oh, you put the red sight on your shotgun and you just see it and lead it and blow it away." I'm like, I can do that with steel. I just man, it's just maybe I'm over what 35 now, and I'm just old.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, you just turned 35, right?
No, I'm halfway to 36 already.
Don't worry, it gets easier as you get closer to 40.
No, it doesn't. I've got so much wear and tear on me, I might as well be 50.
The reason I wanted to get out of trucks is jumping in and out of semis all day. It just pounds your knees.
Wearing a vest and a duty belt and chasing people and.
That's the one thing I think is interesting. Being a kid in the 80s growing up, the cop had on the back they had cuffs, and a mag, and a pistol.
Yeah.
And you look at the cops now, and it's like they have Batman's belt. They have like gloves and pistols and mags and rifle mags, and then they have the vest with all the. It's like, man.
My problem is I put everything on my vest.
Yeah.
And then my back starts hurting. So then I migrate it down south to my belt, and then my hips start hurting. There's no happy medium. It always has to change for me. And I carry the bare minimum.
What do they? Does the department just require everyone to have all that Batman gear on, or?
Typically, it's officer preference.
All right.
But they do require a gun, 2 spare magazines, a flashlight, even during the day, because you need flashlights. I mean, a radio.
Okay.
You got to have your less lethal option, so you have to have your taser. You need at least 2 sets of handcuffs. Departments usually require them to carry a baton.
Now, collapsible or?
Collapsible.
Yeah, you don't see sight handles anymore.
No. No. And that's just the bare minimum. And then some people throw on, I want the AR magazine on my belt too. Well, that's cool. That's just extra weight. So I throw that on my vest.
The other thing I find interesting of being a kid from the 80s, it seemed like the cops, like before they had the less lethal option.
Oh my God.
They went in. They just like get in there and get it over. And now it's like these cops go to their taser and they're like, dude, get in there and just. No, I've never.
So when I started out my career, I started out at the tail end of a lot of other people's careers, and they started in like the 80s and 90s, right?
Yeah.
Some of the most kind-hearted officers I'd ever met, very soft-spoken, very, just to the point with people, knew how to talk to people. But I would not want to piss one off because their only option was to go hands-on with somebody,
Yeah.
So, and then the newer generation, you're taught, your de-escalation. You have to de-escalate things, and then you have to do your controlled escalation. So you have to start here before you go up to here. So with the millennial officers and the younger people that just got out of high school that are getting into law enforcement, it's being taught that, you need to start with your less lethal, so they're drawing their taser. They're afraid to go in and actually
get their hands dirty.
Get their hands dirty, which we try to avoid because we don't want to get injured. We also don't want to get stuck and use excessive force, so.
Well, and then it must be harder too, because it seemed like when I was a kid there was a lot more respect. With a cop, you just kind of like everyone was kind of taught that you just kind of do what the cop says, and we'll get through this. Yeah. But now everyone has a camera. Everyone it's just.
And everybody has access to media, and everybody now has an opinion.
Well, and
an opinion that you're doing things wrong, according to YouTube.
Well, my lawyer told me something really good. He goes, just keep mental note of everything they do wrong, and you tell me when you go to court. And we'll figure this out in the courtroom. Just don't do anything to piss off an officer.
Yeah.
And if they're doing stuff procedurally wrong, note it, and then move on, and we'll take care of this in court. And there's been a few times that fruit of the poisonous tree has come back in my benefit. Not to get into but it's like you just kind of let the cop screw up.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of like, okay, well, he didn't ask,
And even me, I'm not perfect. I have made mistakes before, and it's of course been caught in court, and I've been embarrassed on the stand before. It humbles you, and as an officer, it makes you a better officer, especially when you're against a good defense attorney.
Yeah. And
hopefully you learn from it. A lot of officers don't learn from it.
Yeah.
That's a sad fact. They just keep doing what they're doing instead of changing their behavior because they don't take it seriously.
Yeah, it just seemed like the 80s cops and that they had the 70s and those guys that just come out of Vietnam and all that stuff when I was a kid. They weren't on this like badge heavy power trip that you get a lot of this new generation too.
Yeah.
It's like Cartman, respect my authority.
Yeah.
Oh.
Especially a lot of younger cops, they treat it more like an image.
Yeah, with all the tats and no.
And don't forget the Instagram posts and I'm on duty feeling cute today and taking pictures and putting them up on Snapchat. Instead, they don't take the job seriously.
It's an image thing. It's not a.
And then when someone doesn't take them seriously, they take it 5 steps too far to maintain that balance that I'm in charge.
Well, the problem I have with it is you get some, and I've gotten advice, but I get these kids, they're sitting there, and you're just like, what's your problem, dude? You're up here, and you take it down here. You're escalating this. And then the other thing I have problems with, it's like the state cops have this like chip on their shoulder, dude.
You have to have a certain personality to be one of them.
The state police here is just like everything is straight to you do it or you're going to get arrested. It's like, for what?
Because I'm state.
I'm a state police officer. I'm like, I'm asking you questions and you're going to arrest me.
Yeah, but what's funny is the sheriff can tell your agency to get out of their county.
We found that out during COVID.
So
when the state cops started going into grants, and the sheriff said no, get out of here. And then you have these videos of these two agencies standing off with each other. It's like, dude.
Yeah. That's because they were trying to enforce the mask mandates.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. And that was hilarious. I got my first call during lockdown right after literally the next day. The manager of Dollar General calls me and says, "Oh, there's a person in here not wearing a mask." And I walk in and like, "So what do you want me to do?" "They're not wearing a mask and the governor said there's a mandate." "Okay, great, but what law am I enforcing?" There is no law for not wearing a mask in public.
There's a law against. I went and read the criminal code. There's a law against concealing your identity in public.
Yeah.
And the thing I had a problem with is it's a $400 fine for concealing one's identity. So it goes back to the Wild West when they would put the bandanas on their face, because you could read when the law went into.
Yeah.
So there's a law in New Mexico, because of all our Wild West history, that it's against the law to conceal one's identity in public. So I had asked the cops, I'm like, so which one do I go by? The one that's $400 for not wearing a mask in public? Or $500 for not wearing it, or $400 for wearing it?
Now the question there becomes this: what if they are wearing the mask because it's now a state mandated thing, right?
Yeah.
And they go and they point a gun at somebody, or they physically harm someone. Does it now become an aggravated crime because they're concealing their identity?
I used to think it was funny. You'd go into I went in to do a bank deposit in 2020, in April of 2020, And they were like, I walk into the bank and take off your hat, take off your sunglasses. You can't come in here with a hat or sunglasses. And the New Mexico Bank and Trust is where I was going into. I come back in March, and they're yelling at me for not covering my face. It's like, and then I asked the security guard, I go, you know, under federal law, you're not allowed to cover your face in the bank. You know,
a simple assault, me threatening you, since I was wearing a mask, doesn't now become an aggravated assault?
I don't know.
That's where we had troubles with law enforcement. It's like, well, we have this assault here, and it sounds like a legitimate assault, but he was concealing an ID. Do we consider it an aggravated crime? Well, there was a state mandate, so no, it's simple assault. But what if he purposely concealed his ID for this? How do we know?
That was the... Well, and then there were so many violations of civil liberties and stuff during that time with the governor's mandates, and man, I would not have wanted to been a cop, because it was hard enough being a civilian.
It was hard being a cop during all that, because then they yell at you because you're not wearing a mask.
Speaking of COVID, they found you have the antibodies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
What?
February?
So right when COVID, so right before COVID even was a thing, I had COVID, and so I got the blood work done, and I have antibodies for COVID.
I mean, yeah.
And which was screwed up. This is where my employer violated HIPAA. I should have sued. Because I wasn't wearing a mask, and you know the mayor was big on everybody needs to wear a mask. According to my doctor, I didn't have to because I had antibodies.
Yeah.
So now my boss essentially wants me to show proof that I have the antibodies. Well, it's violation of HIPAA.
I had those arguments with my...
But what was messed up was the first official case of COVID in New Mexico was supposed to be somewhere around the 1st of February, somewhere in that time frame.
I remember it being March, like the 4th or 5th.
Okay,
Yeah.
but he was identified having the antibodies from being sick before COVID was supposed to be in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is they call it COVID-19. That Christmas of that year, I had the worst cold I've ever had.
I was getting my tattoo done, this one, and I had a fever. I was coughing. I couldn't breathe. And my tattoo artist was like, I know, it's hot in here. It's miserable. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm getting sick. Well, when was the last time you've really been sick like this? I'm like, 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was interesting for me is I got sick in January, right around Christmas time. I remember being like after Christmas, right in January, and then like all this COVID stuff broke out, and I never got sick. December 7th, I remember the date because it was Pearl Harbor Day. I went out to the Indian reservation to stop and get a drink, and I came. This guy was screaming at me because I didn't have my mask high enough. I had a sock and a mask. He goes, it's not high enough. He got right in my face. When I left the reservation, I felt this tingling sensation in the back of my neck. And I went home that night, and I already had a fever of like 103.
Yeah.
And and that one took me, when I got sick out on the reservation, it took me like 3 weeks to recover. Yeah, I didn't go back to work till after the new year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wanted to just, they were mandating that I stayed out. It was I really felt like crap.
Oh, and those mandates to stay out of work, man, people took advantage of those left and right.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I get calls from officers, oh, I had exposure to someone that has COVID. Well, per policy, I have to give you 10 days off. Paid. For. Yeah. I mean, I took advantage of it, too. Like, oh, I just had an exposure. I guess I'm off for 10 days. And I was completely fine that I know of.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm
I mean, I had a legitimate exposure, and I knew I probably wasn't going to get sick.
The thing I couldn't understand is Dr. Fauci comes out in the beginning of March and says masks don't work. And you go on the CDC website, and I went and looked at it, and they have all this literature about how wearing a mask is to prevent it from spreading to someone else. It won't keep you from getting it. And they had all this stuff that was this old literature, and then they came out with, he flipped the script. And from that point on, I'm like, I can't trust any of you guys. I only wore it when I was on the road because I was a essential employee or essential worker. I got a letter from the governor telling me that my job was essential, and if there was a barricade, I could show him this letter because I was a truck driver and get through. I have that letter somewhere. I don't know, but yeah, did all that shit, and I lost my train of thought. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was such bullshit. It's like I couldn't trust the government. And then I remember where I was going with this. They shut all the restaurants down. Just about the time everyone they go, okay, everyone go back. We're the only state in the union that did a second shutdown, and it crippled the restaurant industry.
Yeah, there was several that went out of business.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was horrible.
And then you had the state police walking around like Gestapo members shutting everyone down. There's that one restaurant up there, Stoneface, up in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
They kept going up there and fining them and taking all this punitive bullshit action after. I mean, it was that whole thing was frustrating.
I'm still waiting on that money they promised me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for being an essential worker and working during the pandemic. I was supposed to have gotten a pay raise. I never got one.
Well, the thing that frustrated me is my boss.
Not holding your breath.
My boss took a one of those fund things, the relief fund that they set up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I forget what it was called. And if you called in sick with that, they were not supposed to take money against your that was a fund set up to keep you getting paid at your normal rate. And they went ahead and depleted all of my PTO. Did everything. Now, the day I went back, he did sell the company, so he depleted all my PTO, all this shit. This dropped all of my accounts to zero. And the first day I went back to work, we got sold to U.S. Transport. It was just like, so now you can't. He doesn't even own the company anymore. So how do you go against them? And then you go to your current employer, and they're like, "Well, that was your agreement with the last guy. That has nothing to do with us."
Yep.
No, that whole thing was stupid.
Yeah. Really stupid.
Well, yeah, but we went off on a tangent.
It was yeah.
Well, just as long as you don't start talking about Red Dawn again.
Oh, I have to do a correction. It was not a school shooting. It was called the McDonald's Massacre of 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a school shooting. And I also have to do a correction. He was not wearing a E.T. hat. He was wearing a Star Wars hat. I got called out on
At
that.
the McDonald's?
Yeah. In Red Dawn.
Yeah.
If you notice, when he goes into the town, he's wearing a Star Wars hat. The whole first part of the movie, and then when he goes into the town, he comes out without a Star Wars hat.
You know, the day I called you, I was buying beer before I went back to court.
Oh, yeah?
And we were talking about that. I watched the movie that night.
Oh, I went home that night after I got done editing.
And we were talking. I'm like, it's not a school shooting, bro.
I was like, it was a McDonald's shooting at McDonald's.
Oh.
So yeah, no, I got several of my friends calling me like, dude. I'm like, hey, in my defense, when that happened, I was like 3. So
I was in junior high. I think I was about 15. I was 7.
When the McDonald's shooting happened?
Yeah. What year did it happen?
84.
Yeah, I graduated 87. So
It literally happened 3 weeks before the opening of Red Dawn.
That would have been 9th grade.
I don't remember when it premiered or anything.
Well, you weren't even alive.
That's true.
True. Yes.
That's true.
What year were you born in? What, 90?
89.
89? Yeah. Yeah, it happened like 5 years before you were a glimmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was alive. I don't remember any of it. The only thing I remember from that, being that young, was Challenger explosion. That's about the youngest my memory goes back to, is remembering the Challenger
Didn't
explosion.
that happen in 84 as well?
86.
86.
86 is when that happened.
They have the documentary of it on Netflix.
Oh, really?
And the McDonald's shooting
They have a McDonald's shooting documentary on Netflix?
on Netflix.
Huh. Well, I guess I know what I'm watching on Netflix tonight.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I felt so dumb. I knew it was a shooting.
Guns were involved.
Well, at least you got the shooting part right.
I got the shooting, and I got the several weeks before McDonald's pulled out. I did not get the reason why.
Yep.
No.
What's interesting is I went back and watched that movie, and I always thought that one of the original Cuban leader that came in was kind of a jerk. He's actually, if you watch the movie, he's like an advocate for not being the savage that started the guerrilla war. And because I hadn't seen the movie in years, but now I can like go back and you can see the several subplots that are in there. And
Yeah.
and then I watched the remake, the Red Dawn, the 2012 version, and the original one was still better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
It did not get better. It was a totally different story.
I had fun watching the 2012 one though. I think it's because I was drunk.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, when I go to the movies, I don't exactly go legal. As they say, no outside food or drink. Well, what they don't know won't hurt them.
When you got your get out of jail free card too, so.
I'm supposed to hold myself accountable for my actions.
Yeah.
So if they asked me where was I drinking in a movie theater, I could tell them no.
Yeah.
Or I could do the honorable thing and say, yes, I was. But are they going to find the evidence?
Not if you were good enough to hide it.
Exactly.
But no, I that's the reason I go to Flex Brew House now.
What?
You ever been to Flex Brew House?
Never heard of it.
Oh, dude. They have one in Albuquerque and one in El Paso.
You ever been to Broken Arrow Tap House?
No.
You know what that is?
No.
At Inn of the Mountain Gods, it's a tap house. You go in there and they have beer galore on the wall.
Oh, a tap. Like
Tap house.
like it's on tap. Yeah.
It is not a strip club. It's a bar.
I was thinking it was like maybe like a speakeasy or something.
No.
Oh, okay. Like tap on the door or something. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to put it together, but no. Flex.
Prohibition's been over for a while, Cody.
Yeah, but they still have that place up in Albuquerque that they have you have to go on the internet and get the code of the day, and you knock on the door and they slide it open. You got to tell them before they'll let you in for your reservation or some shit. But no, you go down to Flex Brew House. It's the first where Cabela's, and you can order from a person in there. And then during the thing, you can hit a button. During the movie, you can hit a button, and they'll come and they'll refill your drink. Ellis is in
Albuquerque?
in El Paso.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not El Paso.
Well, if you go where Trans Mountain is, it's about 2 miles south of there.
It's right off the gateway.
I avoid El Paso like the plague.
Well, this one you don't really have to go too far into it.
Well, even still.
But they have what it is you. They have a full bar when you walk in, and you can order any kind of alcohol, and they have it's a brew house. And they have micro brew in the front. And then so you can order a beer and take it in with you, and then while you're in there, they have a full menu can give you, it's pretty slick.
Nice.
Yeah. It's quite the cinematic adventure.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. My daughter only wants to go there now. You could take your kids in with you and stuff, and They had this thing that was brisket mac and cheese. They take a whole load of mac and cheese and put a shredded brisket on top of it with the barbecue. Ah, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's some good stuff.
That sounds good.
I didn't get fat by not eating good things.
You know what's messed up is drinking Crown and Coke while you're watching Puss in Boots in theaters. And then you go and play the movie like a year later. You're like, oh, I've never seen this before. Yeah, you have. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
right. I don't remember, but cool.
There was a couple movies. I remember going into the movie and then sitting down and drinking a bunch before, but I can't remember what movie I even went to.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I like doing while I was driving truck is we would like go into like Tyler, Texas or someplace, and you get like the movie theater to let semi trucks park in there, and you'd be waiting on a 34-hour reset, and you drive down to the movie theater and you sit there and watch every goddamn movie in the theater. You just start at one side of the hall and work your way all the way down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool during the matinee when they like $2 movies. Yeah, that's the first time I saw the glitter vampires. Yeah, I watched Twilight 2 or whatever the sequel was, New Moon or whatever, and I'd never seen the first one, and I'm like, you really got to start with the first one to watch the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, do you think we should call this?
Sure.
Let's take a minute and talk about upcoming projects. We just finished building a Remington 700 Action. We built a 280 Ackley improved. We'll be getting that on the range here soon, doing some shooting with that. I'm interested to see what we can get with that with chronograph wise. I mean, looking at the book and what the data looks like, we should be able to get within 100, 150 feet per second of the 7 PRC, and considering you're burning a lot less powder, more efficient. Kind of excited to see what that yields. 6mm arc and a 243.
Do you want to mention who we're trying to compare against?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. We will get there.
Okay. There's a very strategic reason why we're
Yes.
doing the arc round,
Yes.
because he wants to get the data and show how great of a round it is.
That's a fun build. We just finished that, and then everything's ordered. We talked about this in the first podcast. We're going to be doing a 6mm arc, and we're going to do a side-by-side comparison between it's loaded for bolt action rifle, 62,000 psi pressure level. It's running right up there close to a 243, and we're gonna shoot them side by side, same bullet weight. Probably, well, actually, they'll both be shooting the same bullet, same weight. We'll be burning.
So we're doing the arc build.
Yep, 6mm arc. That's going to be a fun build. We've already got a donor action for that. It's going to be a small Sank Savage. All the parts are ordered, everything we need, and we're going to be converting this over from being a bottom bolt release Savage to a top bolt release. And all that kind of stuff as far as that goes, the assembly on the rifle, that's all going to be out on Rumble.
Yeah, we read the rules.
Yeah, YouTube community standard, yeah, they kind of frown on that. So all that information will be going on Rumble. So make sure if you're only on YouTube and you want to see all that,
we'll still put a video up and do it up until the part where we have to cut it, and then But yeah,
everything is on the way.
I think what they were really aiming for was YouTube. But anyways, that's for a different. That's a story for a different day.
And then, after we do the initial break-in shoot with the 6mm arc, we're going to do some load development with that, and then.
And then what's that other gun you just got done building?
That's the 280 Ackley improved, built on the Remington 700 Action, and we'll be shooting that this next week. We're going to do initial barrel break-in with it, see how it goes. I've got some Peterson brass ordered for that, so we're going to do the initial break-in with some nozzler brass that was on sale, available, and then when we get ready to start really trying to dial that rifle in, I'll be changing over to Peterson brass and trying to see just how tight a group. That one's built off of a Criterion barrel. That ought to go pretty good. And then anxious to see how that little 6mm arc turns out. That's going to be a fun rifle.
Yeah, we have some experience with it in the AR platform. We didn't do a video about it.
No, we haven't shot a video on that, but I did build I built an AR-15 off of the 6mm arc back at Christmas, 24-inch stainless match barrel, and I've only had it out. I think I've only had it out one time. Did all right, but we just had so many other things going on. That one just kind of.
We were kind of developing the YouTube stuff and figuring it all out. Christmas.
Yeah, so we'll probably go back and readdress that 6mm arc in both the bolt and the AR. And I'm anxious to get that bolt gun shooting out to 1,000 yards, see how it does. Kind of pretty cool. It's gonna be exciting.
You got any builds coming up, Ryan?
Any who?
Any builds? Gun builds?
No.
Were you thinking about any gun builds?
I'm always thinking about gun builds.
I know you were wanting to build a Jackal.
Yes, I do want to.
What's a Jackal?
It looks like an FN, but palmetto.
Like an FN foul?
No, not the foul. The
Scar.
Scar.
Oh, it looks like a Scar. Okay.
Yeah,
but it is built off of an AR-15 lower.
It is, and it uses AR magazines.
Well, the Scar uses AR mags too.
So
that makes sense.
I do want to. I've heard it's good, and I've heard it's bad. I want to try it out myself.
What calibers does it shoot?
5.56. I think there's a 308 version that came out too.
Oh, fires off the AR-10 platform kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a AR-15 lower with a kind of a Scar upper.
Yes.
Yes.
Does it have the charging handle like the Scar? Or?
No, and it is gas operated. It is it's a proprietary upper, and part of it doesn't use it uses a buffer tube on the AR on the lower, but it's not used like it is with an AR-15. You don't have a buffer spring and a buffer in there. Because it's all built into the upper. Your return spring to go back in the battery, all that is built into the upper. So it's it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Because I fired the Scar 16 or something. Whatever the 5.56 variant is. No, it was a 308 variant. And you get your hand, and that charging handle comes back and tries to rip your thumb off if you got the wrong handheld. It was a pain in the. Oh, it sucked.
It's a nice place to keep your, arms, fingers, and toes and everything within the vehicle.
And that roller coaster, you need to keep it all tucked in.
Yeah, keep all your body parts in.
Yeah. I mean, you would think.
I don't get paid to think.
If it moves, keep your fingers away from it.
Yeah, that's a safe bet.
In some applications, that's probably true.
Some applications.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
but I really liked what we did this morning. I thought that was a lot of fun. It's got a lot of good footage. Now I just got to figure out how to find my inner creative side and put it all together.
Yeah. And I think we need to do another one like that. Some
run and gun stuff.
Not just run and gun, but I think we need to do some practical, like concealed carry defense type stuff where you start from a concealed carry, and practice the draw, practice your present, and engage a target.
Train how you're going to operate it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good.
Train the way you're going to fight. Because if you ever do get in a fight, the only thing you got to fall back on is that training. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
It was very eye-opening today. I try not to be very cocky around guns because I've been bitten by them before. But
I've heard.
yeah. Have you heard?
I was told one day, yes.
Yeah.
Shown.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. When we first met, yeah.
Yes.
My little parting gift for
I'm glad you put out a disclaimer before you showed me too. I was like, what's going on here?
yeah.
That was about to get weird.
Oh, you were still uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. No, but yeah, when it was like impressive, even without the beep and the timer and everything. You push the button and you're like, what do I do with my hands?
All right, Ricky Bobby, let's slow down.
And you're just like, eyes are like, that was interesting. I took the gun and I'm trying to figure out what to do with the mags. And like, I dropped the mag. And I pulled the loaded mag and I kept. What did I do? I pulled the empty mag, dropped the loaded mag.
And at one point you reholstered.
Yeah, like one of them.
Not even done yet.
I was like all of a sudden the go went and my brain went stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, it's like the stories of the guy out deer hunting with a lever action rifle. Deer jumps up and deer's running and he's sitting there working the lever action, injecting every single shell out of that rifle and never fires.
Sounds legit to me.
Yeah.
Really?
That's how they used to do it back in the day.
Just, that's how they kept from lead poisoning all the ground. Seriously, they weren't even pulling the trigger, they would just rack. Wow.
I know somebody that did that. He ejected every single round out of the rifle and never shot a single time and
just practiced working the lever and not pulling the trigger.
Yeah. He was pointing it at the deer and the deer was running and he just sat there and
just went to his lowest level of training.
Lowest level of training. I can work the lever.
I know it works.
I know it works.
Well, I think what I'll probably start doing is practicing mag changes. Go through the fundamentals.
Teach you how to do some.
Well, the thing is, you got to start off and make sure that you got a good, solid foundation of correct training before you start speeding up. Because if you develop a bad habit trying to shoot fast, then you got to try to teach yourself how to unlearn that and do something the correct way.
So it's hard to untrain bad habits.
Yeah, so it's best to start, even if it seems slow, get the right fundamental in place first, and then it will all start falling in place.
The whole slow is smooth and smooth is fast?
Yeah, all you got to do is stand there in front of a mirror with yourself as the target, right?
Oh,
and just look at yourself awkwardly, maybe smile every now and then, and just practice pulling the magazine out of the magazine pouch and putting it in front of your face. And then doing that over and over again to where it just becomes second nature, pulling it out, putting it in front of your face.
Okay.
And then you incorporate the gun. Now that it's in front of my face, practice putting it in the gun.
Okay.
We'll keep doing that over and over. And then dropping the magazine and doing it with another one. Keep doing that.
Yeah, well, we know what my inefficiencies are.
And then doing your tactical reloads too. Whereas we're not in a hurry, the magazine's not empty, but we want to put a fresh source in there, right? Mm-hmm. So just standing there and working your tack load over and over.
Yeah, because of the...
and once you get to that point where you can do that, then start shooting bullets out of it. And then incorporate the moving and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, I was very, amazed that, you go into that primordial, oh shit, we're going, and your mind just goes and does stupid shit.
And then you start grunting like a monkey.
Thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Well. So.
But so we're going to do some more run and gun.
Yeah.
But I redeemed myself when I picked up your Cerberus rifle. was able to really actually shoot with a rifle, not so much with a handgun.
Yes.
And that's what they used to say in 3-gun. I'm really good with long weapons, and short weapons I suck. Shotguns and rifles I was always good with. Pistols,
No.
you just take the penalty sometimes and keep moving. And hopefully before August comes around, I can really get some of the fundamentals back down. So
Either that, or just carry a whole bunch of 33 round mags.
that was my ploy last time. You could only carry 2 mags. Had,
So how big Dad is.
had 2 33-round magazines and a 15, and just go up to the line. You start pulling the trigger till you hit something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had 3 of them at once, but some guy offered me like $250 for a 33-round mag, the Glock mag, and I was like, that is way more expensive than you could go pick one up. And I'm like, sold. So I would go up. One time I went up there with 3 33-round magazines, went to the firing line with 99 rounds.
How many rounds did you need to fire on the course of fire?
I think like, for pistols, I think it was like 16, but I was ready. And then
You had plenty of ammo.
You know, ever shot a Texas Star?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was such a bad shot that I was trying to shoot the Texas Star. I hit the bolt in the center and knocked all the ends off. And I'm like, well, that works, and just kept on running to the next one. So I'm not going to toot my own horn and say I was ever good with pistols.
We knocked them on the head.
And they got all knocked off.
Yeah.
There you go.
Improvise.
There's a video somewhere on YouTube or Facebook of me doing that. Like I hit the bolt and everything just knocks off. And then they were mad. They thought it was funny at first, and then they go up and check it, and now the wheel's all screwed up. It wasn't. But not. Well, anyways, we've gotten way too into the embarrassing stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I guess we've gone, what, an hour and 15 minutes now?
Yeah. That's,
I said, well, that's just...
I think that's pretty much it.
think-
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, the link to merch.
Make sure you, go
And
check.
like this, well, oh, that's not one of our shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
511's awesome.
It is.
Make sure and go check out the t-shirt shop.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Links in the description. And we're going to try to do this again. So thanks for watching. If you got this far, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
There you go.